Welcome to Tales of First Ladies. I'm Eleanor Burns. This is the last part in a 13-part series. Well, that's sad. But today I have a charming quilt made by my sister Patricia. Her eagles are just so cute with checked shields, spotted wings, and striped tails. Very cute. And the medallion has a country charm in that red check fabric and calico in the center. Just reminds me of a square dance. Well, Amy Potter surrounded the eagles with graceful feathers and filled in with stippling. Magnificent. I love Patty's touches of black striped and checked fabrics and black large-scale florals and her fussy cuts. You know, Patty is pretty fussy, so when no one is looking, I say, fussy cut. Well, this is Mrs. Lincoln's favorite. Really shows fussy cutting in that black print and also the stripe. And I also love the very center of the Lincoln block. That's another example. And you can see up here, more fussy cutting. She's got those large-scale prints all over the place. Well, her red inside triangles feature triangular feathers. Really stunning. And the green triangles show off cross-hatch quilting's perfect. So let's just keep on going to the outside edge. The waves in the framing border just flow along. And the tulips quilted in the flying geese are really cute. And now we're out to one of Patty's signatures, stripes in the border. She has helped me design several fabric lines, and we always design stripes in the border with a good line to cut out the stripes. You need that good line. Well, today we're going to focus on the binding, and Patty used an adorable stripe for the binding for that good old country charm. So join me. We are so close to being done that I can taste it. First of all, we need to figure out how many strips of binding you need to go around your quilt. So I measured one side. That is actually a square quilt. So measuring one side is enough, and that particular one is 52 inches. Now, we're going to add on a little bit extra, let's say 5 inches, for mitering around the corner, just to be safe. So I'm going to do plus 5 equals. So now that's 57. We've got 4 sides. Yep, that's right. Times 4 equals. Okay, so all around the outside edge, it's 228 inches. Well, I always calculate my measurements on a width of fabric from salvage to salvage being 40 inches. That way you're safe. Sometimes you have more, but let's go divided by 40 inches, and that equals 5.7. Okay, that is actually 6 binding strips that you need. That's pretty easy math. And then you can always figure out how much yardage from that point. Well, I am going to take my fabric right now. I'm going to make 6 binding strips for it. The first thing I want to do is just trim off all my salvage edges. Get rid of that over your shoulder. That's good. I like to use the shape cut. I personally like to have 3-inch wide binding strips. You know, everybody has their own preference. Patty likes 2 3/4. I think Teresa likes that too. And some people even do 2.5. Well, I personally like 3 inches. So I can cut my strips with my shape cut. And I'm just going to move that. I have a nice straight edge along there. Here is 0 right here. I'm going to go to 3 inches. Put my cutter right in the keyhole and just cut away from me. And then you can just go, keep on going, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Oh, I think I'm just showing off just a little bit at 18. So we've got that all done. Now, we have to go ahead and assembly line sew these strips. So you're just going to take the first one. Gosh, that looks so wide after using all of the strips that I've been using. And so all you do is just flip these strips right sides together. Okay, I usually sew this with my 1/4 inch foot, but right now I'm going to need my walking foot really quick, so I just put that one on. 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so all you do is just twist this one around and put this one right sides together to it. Keep on sewing until they're this one big long strip. And I'll just add one more strip on there, and then I'll show you what I like to do. So right now, I like to take this seam. Oh, we have to clip them all apart. I like to take this seam and press it open, press all the seams open, and then take the strip and fold it in half, wrong sides together, and press it all the length. And you have all of this binding going all over the place, all across the room. What a mess, until I discovered the binding buddy. And now I am all neat and tidy. What do you think about that? That works pretty good. So let's just get that out of the way. And I'm going to start getting the binding on this quilt. Oh, but first, I have a confession to make. You see this end here? It's not trimmed off. You know why? Because when I was pinning it down, I was in such haste that I didn't even provide batting and backing for the very bottom. So we had to just tape another piece of batting on there, fuse it in place, sew another piece of backing on there, and sew it on. Well, Orion suggested that I might show you because I'm sure you think I do everything perfect. But you can fix it just by fusing that binding in place, fusing that batting in place. Okay, now I'm going to get it all lined up here, get it nice and flat. And I have my walking foot on. I'm going to set my stitch length at 3.0. It's just going to be stitching right along there. So I'm just going to pull out my binding strip. I usually start it right in the middle of one side, and I leave an end loose. I leave it folded up, 2-3 inches. Now, the seam allowance is always important because you want to have at least 1/4 inch. And I think actually that looks really good. I'm just going to use the edge of my walking foot on the edge of my, right in the edge of my binding strip. And just hold on there and just move it around. Boy, now comes the time you really need to have a good breakfast and Wheaties because your shoulders can really wear you out. Stitching this down, you kind of have to move it around. Let's get it on the table. We're looking good now. So I'm just going to sew the whole way down to the corner, and the miter is the part that everybody asks about, and I'm going to show you my favorite trick. I'm nearly into my corner. Let me turn this around so you can see. I'm nearly into my corner, and I have to stop actually the width of my seam, which is just about that. So I'm going to take a big old pin and put it right in there. That's the width of my seam in both directions, I can tell. Good at eyeballing. So right when I get to that pin, then I'm going to stop. I'm nearly to it. Okay, stop. Let me pull this away so you're sure to see. Pull out the pin and turn the whole quilt so that it's on the angle. See? And now all I'm going to do is just stitch to that corner. It's basically just a 90-degree angle. Perfect. And now I'm just going to cut my thread, raise my foot, and turn to the second side. And that's what you can see what I did, because this is going to really help me. Now you take and you fold your binding strip right on that stitching. And that looks like a really good angle, a good fold. And so then you take it and you fold it back down. And you carefully line up the fold with the outside edge of the binding strip. Lay that down tight. You can kind of crease that. That's the way you're going to do all 4 corners. Once you learn how to do that technique, then you'll be able to do it all of the time. And now go back to the edge. You don't have to start where you ended or anything like that. I'm just starting on my binding, and I'm going forward, and I'm losing it. I think I could use a big table right off the end. What do you think? Sometimes people put their ironing board there. That really helps. So I'm just going to keep on lining it up like this and just stitching along the binding until I get to near the end. Then I'm going to stop and show you what to do. I'm coming in to home stretch. I just want to show you how I like to finish my edges so it's really nice and flat. Okay, I'm just about 6 inches away, and I'm just going to cut my threads. So that was fast. Doesn't take long at all. Now, this is where I started, and am I living lucky? Look at what's left. Not much at all. Now, I want to make this really flat here. I have done many things, like fold it back and tuck this in. People fold it on a diagonal, cut it, all kinds of things. This is the method that I personally like. So I want to fold this end back because that is about my seam allowance. And I'm just going to take this end and bring it up and match it. I'm just going to match it right there. So I increase the opposite side. Now, all I have to do is just take this piece of binding, trim it straight, get rid of it, and now sew these ends together just as I always do. Sew the ends together. So I'm just going to pull these out. And this is really crazy too. You pull it out and you put some pins in it and you twist and you turn and you practically stand on your head. But let's just see if we can do this. So now we pull this end very close. And let me make sure this is out of the way so you can see it. I've got that end right there. Foot down, needle down. So the same width. Make this into a straight line and just zip right across there. No bulk. That's the best part. Okay, let's just cut that, get that foot up. Now, whoop, look at that. There's a little bleep right in the middle, but that'll be fine. We'll never know. So just take this seam with your hands, open, and press the seam open, and let's just see when we lay it down flat how good it looks. And I have to be honest with you because sometimes I need to do this about 3 times until it is just the right seam. Okay, but you know what? We're going to call that good. So just lay it down flat and finish sewing that off. And that way you don't have any bulk. You can't even tell where you began and where you finished it. And that's good. All right, let's just take a look. Got the whole way around, and all I need to do is just a little more trimming, and then I'll show you how to fold that back over. I do everything by machine. Now, a lot of people do like to do things by hand, and I usually sew, like my antique quilts that I've had hand quilted, I will sew the binding down by hand, but this time I'm just going to do it by machine. Now, when you enter your quilt in a quilt show, believe it or not, one of the things they look at is if your binding is filled. That's what they call it, if your binding is filled. That means do you have it out there? Okay, so let's just take a look. Here is my corner right here, my mitered corner, and it's very simple. All you do is take these sides and you just pop them out like that, and that's your beautiful mitered corner. That looks good. And then at this point, I flip it over to the back side, and I pull it until it covers the previous line of stitching. You can see this line of stitching here. That's where I put my binding in. I want to cover that and have a little bit beyond it. Now, at this point, you could go ahead and use your pins. I usually just take and right along this edge and go in like this. Let me fold that a couple more times. We'll just do a couple of inches so you get the full effect. And right here, when I'm at the miter, I just tuck and bring that, covering up that previous line of stitching. You've got this nice miter right out here, so you just pull it like this, and you just fold it down. Let me say that again. You just fold it like this and pull it down, and I'm nearly there. Let me just hold that down with my pin and put that in place. And another thing they often look for at the quilt show is if you've hand-stitched this little miter. So, some good tips. Maybe yours will win. Well, pins are good, but I just have found my new favorite tool. And I hope I don't open this upside down. I actually wrote top on my box because the first time I opened them wrong. So these are really great for working both by machine or by hand. You know, if you sit down and you pin your binding by hand, then you just get all scratched up. So these work great. They're the cutest little clamps you've ever seen, and you just put them around. They are wonder clamps. I love them. Okay, I'm going to go the whole way around doing that, pinning or using my little clamps, but let me get these out of the way because I'm going to show you the last bit of stitching. So let's just get this on the table so it doesn't fall off over and over. Oh, good. I'm still going to use my walking foot. I've had red thread on all the time. Oh, wait, I've had white thread on this time. I would put red thread on because I'm just going to stitch in the ditch. But it'll be better for you in white. Okay, needle down in the ditch. And then you just go very slowly. If you have matching thread, you will never see this stitching. But I'm just going straight along that ditch. Just kind of hold your breath. Okay, we're getting into the real heavy stuff. I'm right at the corner. So just go right into that corner, pivot, and turn. And I just will go a little bit further down along here. And I think that I will just peek first. Now see, when you get to these little clips, you just pull them out and throw them aside and keep on going. It's great. It's my favorite tool right now, my best friend. Let's check and see. Let me look first. Ooh, you can see it. It looks really good. So there it is. Right? I'm pulling my pins out, and you can see how you just finish the outside edges. I have a new mitering tool I want to show you, and you're going to love it for two good reasons. One, it saves you time. Two, it saves you money. And those two reasons are good enough for me. Well, I already have my little quilt top all together. Remember, this was the Harrison Rose. We put the borders on around the outside edge. Cut the batting to be exactly the same size as the top, and then the backing has been trimmed so that it's a 1.5 inches the whole way around. All four sides, there are 1.5 inches. And then before I started, I took and I folded that backing in half and pressed it down. Now comes the magical tool. It's bright. You won't lose it in your sewing room. There is a square that is going to fit right in that corner, okay? Take that and lay that right down. You can see that it's lined up there. Use a permanent marking pen. You can use any pen because actually we're going to not see that line. And then once you have that diagonal line drawn, go to right where the line touches those folds. And I put 2 little tick marks there. Those are what's really important. Now we need a pin. One pin, and I'm just going to turn this around and just manipulate this so you can see it. I'm going to really fold this guy in half, starting right out here at the point. Looking good. Looks like the corner of a sheet, huh? And then take your pin and put it right through. Here's the tip mark here. Put it through, and let me see. Oh, I'm a little off here. So let me just open that up. Whoops. And move that around. I'm nearly there. Okay, got it. Now let's refold it and just stick a pin going out this way, and we'll just keep it really secure. We'll put another pin. Now I'm going to start right here at the fold and sew to the pin and lock my stitches. Okay, I'm doing good. Sometimes I feel these little tricks are like mysteries. What is she doing? Will this work? It's amazing. Okay, let me hold this down flat. I want my needle to go right in that line. Needle down, line it up. Remember, I'm going to lock stitch right on that pin. And lock. Cut the threads, raise the foot. Whoa. Let's get rid of these pins and let's check it out. Well, so far it looks good. So now we're just going to cut. That's the scary part, cutting that off. You're never going to get it back on there if this isn't right. So let's just do a little popping. Just pop it right side out. Ooh, that looks good. And my stiletto is just a great tool for picking out those points. My stiletto is good for everything. And let me just, one more pick, and then let's lay it flat. Tuck the block in. Get that all tucked in. Oh, look at that. And so now you just lay it flat all around. Perfect. You need more pins to just lay around the outside. Okay, turn that all under. Pin along there. See how that would save you time, especially if you were doing a charity quilt. And you don't have a lot of time and you don't want to spend a lot of extra money buying that extra binding piece. That's looking good. So now all you have to do is go back here, stitch around the outside edge, and it's perfect. It's beautiful. Well, I want to show you a little quilt that my sister Patty made. She is the purple and green person. This is the Harrison Rose that I have right here, but only purples, little check. Look at that little check right in the middle here, and lots of quilting around there. And then she did an echo quilt. This is what an echo quilt is called, going out away from it. She put little buttons in the centers of her flowers. And isn't that top stitching really, really cute? I love it. And then take a look at her triangles. Just looks like a little heart right there. It's so cute. It definitely is hearts for Patty Loves Purple, I think. And then more hearts in the green. And then the blocks are just quilted down with circle motifs. And then look how fun it is right out in the tulips and that little ziggy line in the framing border. Well, this is just the cutest quilt. You know, I have really enjoyed the time I've spent with you. Thank you for joining me.